Hello, my lovely soul, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am your host, Lauren Glick. I am here to bring you my energy, my motivational speaking, and me being a confidence mentor. My mission is to inspire women to own who they are, step into their higher selves fearlessly, and live a life with unstoppable joy. On this show, we are going to cover everything from aligning your life to your higher self, setting boundaries, self-growth, and living a purpose-driven life. Let's get you living a meaningful life you cannot wait to wake up to. Stop driving and start living with ease and abundance. Cheers to living a magical life. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now, let's head into today's episode. Tammy, I just wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you for being here today. And for the listeners on the show today, I just wanted to say hello and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence Podcast, where I love to have interviews with fellow entrepreneurs and their insight and their stories on their path through entrepreneurship. So today we have Tammy. First and foremost, Tammy, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience today. And let's just have a brief introduction first, and then we'll go into your story.
Wonderful. And I'm honored to be here. My name is Tammy Revard, and I'm known as the true Airhead. And the reason for that is part of my brain deteriorated from lack of oxygen in an asthma attack. And so seriously, part of my brain is not there. If you look on an MRI, there's a piece of it missing. So I feel so blessed though, because when you hear my story, you'll see I had very low self-esteem and self-confidence, and I turned it around and just really turned my life around. And if I can do it with part of my brain missing, any of you out there can do it with the full brain as well.
Interesting when you say that you have a part of your brain that it doesn't work. So you said that through an asthma attack, that's what sparked or started was it like an instant thing, Tammy, or how did that, how did you know, like all the details, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, I don't mind at all. What actually happened is I kept having asthma attack after asthma attack, and the doctors couldn't figure out why. And it was from mold. And it actually took a couple years to finally even figure that out. But there was a sprinkler spraying on our old house, and my ex-husband was one of these that, I'm going to do it myself. I hired 2 different gardeners. He sent them away. And so water was spraying on our house every day, which created mold. And I'm highly allergic to mold and had no idea. And I kept having asthma attack after asthma attack. And then this was February of 2009. I had an asthma attack so severe that when my ex-husband was driving me to the emergency room, the song "Live Like You Were Dying" came on. And I seriously thought I was dying. I had been to a funeral a couple months before with that song, and I truly believed, because I was gasping for air so bad. And he decided to take me, instead of to the hospital, to an urgent care, because I was so bad. I was just completely out of breath. We get to the urgent care. They didn't even check me in, and they just took me straight back and started giving me albuterol. And when I sat down on that breathing, I passed out. And it was only for a few seconds, but because of the lack of oxygen to my brain, that's what created part of my brain missing, was from the lack of oxygen in that asthma attack. And
that's crazy to me.
After that, my spelling, my grammar, my coordination, there's just some things that were just not the same.
Well, I know we don't know each other too well, but like I have never noticed your spelling. I mean, I'm really bad with spelling. You must have been like an all-star, an A plus in grammar before that, because like it doesn't even, I don't notice. So, um, I have a question about that instance. Do you think that your husband stopping by that walk-in clinic saved your life?
Oh, it definitely saved my life. I mean,
Wow.
who knows what would have happened. I think things would have been a little different if I was in an emergency room.
Yeah.
But but I definitely think if I had not been at that urgent care, because if I passed out when I started getting air, imagine what would have happened if I didn't have air coming to me within that time span.
'Cause how long of
So
a drive was that difference between going to the emergency room and, that walk-in clinic?
probably about 10, 15 minutes. The
Oh,
walk-in
wow,
clinic was much
yes.
closer to our house, where the
Yeah,
hospital was about 10 minutes away.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, hats off to your husband. Does he have any medical experience, or he was just like, "Holy shit, here's this walk-in clinic, we have to go."
No, he had medical experience.
Wow,
He was a police officer, so
wow.
you could relate being a
Yeah,
fire, but yes,
yeah.
he was a police officer, so he definitely
Wow.
had training and experience.
Well,
So,
I absolutely love that ending to the story, that it was your husband that was a leading cause to saving your life 100%. And, when you had mentioned, you were like, "Well, I do have a little bit of deficiencies within spelling and grammar." But you also did mention that, like, before this, what were you saying? You had a little bit of depression and anxiety. Did I hear that correctly, or
well,
was I a
no,
little?
that was more after it happened
Oh,
because,
okay.
and part of the reason my spelling's a little better too, I went through
Mm,
years of physical therapy. I went through
okay.
speech therapy, coordination,
Mm,
eye therapy. I went through many years
wow.
of physical therapy. But no, there's family issues as well, but my self-esteem just was so low because going from having a successful career
Mm,
and making over 100,000 a year to not being able to work. And
mm,
when it first happened, I had a neuropsychologist. I got tested first at UCLA, and the doctor at UCLA said, "You've got a license to socialize." And she said, "I don't care what it is, put something on your calendar every single day." And she
I
said,
love
"No
that.
matter if it's going to lunch with a friend, she said, because I've watched patient after patient go into a major depression because it's now what?
Yeah.
You were so busy with your career, and then now all of a sudden, what do you have now?" And she said, "So make sure you stay busy." And I really do feel that made a difference. And I know with COVID that was really tough, but because my spelling and grammar and career had changed, and I went through um, a major divorce a couple years later, it was like because of that, my self-esteem was very low. And it was also, I would listen to what other people would say, and just, it follow follow what they say, or, "Oh, I can't wear this, or I can't do this because, you know, this person doesn't like this, or this person." And I've always, and still am to this day, been such a people pleaser,
Mm,
and so it was a matter of, no, I need to do this myself. I can do it. I can achieve it. And when all this went on, like, to get a little further into my story, and Lauren, you know this part, but I went on an entrepreneurial challenge because, like I was saying, at COVID, when all of a sudden I had to stay in because my
mm.
second husband, because I'm remarried now, and my second husband had a double lung transplant in
Wow.
2017. So when COVID first hit, I was very worried because I didn't want to be responsible for getting him sick. And something where I could work from home and stay inside. And so when the I went on this entrepreneurial community, and it was called the Young Entrepreneur Project, YEP. And when I went on that challenge, a speaker called on me, and there were about 250 people in the Zoom, and he said, "What do you have different than everyone else in the Zoom?" And I thought for a second. I said, "I'm an airhead. Part of my brain is missing." And he's like, "Why haven't you written a book?" And I said, "I'm not trying to be negative, and it's not that I have, these, oh, I can't do it beliefs." I said, "But my spelling and grammar are not good." I
Mhm.
said, "That's just something I'm not capable of." And he said, "That's what editors are for. I will help you. You can do this." And so it almost challenged me more because it
Mm.
was like I had to prove to them that I can do it. So when I got the book completed and it was at the editor, and this is where I met you as well, but I walked into a clubhouse room that was on
Mhm.
mentors, and Kevin Harrington, from Shark Tank, he was the original one. He also invented, As Seen on TV and
Yeah.
the infomercials. And Kevin was doing a room on mentoring,
Yeah.
and he was part of that. He wasn't the speaker that called on me, but he was part of that entrepreneurial challenge. So I got on the stage and I just said, "I want to thank you for mentoring. I would have never written a book if it were not for the challenge." And so Kevin, from that, offered to write the foreword of my book.
Mm.
And he said, "Who else in this room," because we were in this clubhouse room, "can help her?" And James Somerville, who was at the time the marketing director for Coca-Cola, um, James offered to design my cover.
Wow.
And so I was just so blessed. Well, then, and when I was telling my story, on another stage, um, Zig Ziglar's son Tom was also speaking on the stage at the same time. And when he heard my story, he says, "First off, I want you to know you're the star today." He offered to write a testimonial. He read my book and gave me some guidance and a few things to change. So here I got nothing financially, but that doesn't matter. I had two of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world that have supported me and helped me along with my book.
Yeah.
And it's all, like Kevin said, it was all because you had the courage to get up and speak. And
Mm.
when you were speaking of the self-confidence, I lost some friends through that because I grew so much and I was putting so much into my book. Some people didn't understand. And there's some friendships that just, I became a different person. I needed to change. I needed the change, but I've also had to learn, and I wish I knew this at 20 years old. I had to learn to let go what other people thought of me
Mm.
and just do it, not to be selfish, but to be able to do it myself and not worry what other people thought. Once I let go of that worry and let go of that judgment, it really changed both my income, and I became a different person.
I
And
love
I'm so
it.
grateful.
And when you started this process, because I know there was a couple of points that I didn't want to interrupt during that talk. During that process for you, what do you think one of the main, and I know you kind of hit on it already, Tammy, but I just want to like point out what those key points were for you that helped you grow your confidence after the the incidents for you, like after you lost part of your brain. Like what were those key points for you that you could look back now and be like, yeah, that was definitely something that helped me grow my confidence?
Well, and like I said, it was a
Mhm.
over 10-year journey. With Clubhouse, being able to get on there and tell my story and have people that are so supportive, with the Young Entrepreneur Project, where you found a community of entrepreneurs that believed in each other and supported each other. Like I said, had to learn to let go of what other people thought of me.
Mm. And I think that's really key, especially when we grow confidence, is like we can really rely, or at least I'm saying this for myself, on other people's opinions. Like if you have all this confidence within moving in one specific direction and you talk to somebody that isn't into self-development and they kind of just sit inside their comfort zone, and you start talking to them about what you're doing, and they start um kind of just displaying all their limiting beliefs onto you. Because I know that happened to me at the beginning of my entrepreneurship. I let those people get to me. I don't want to say like keeping my opinions and what I'm doing and growing to myself, but I guess just really focusing in on which people am I able to share information with within entrepreneurship? Because a lot of people, that's like a very scary topic for them. Is that kind of your experience as well?
Yes, very much so. And like I know, for instance, and I'll give you another example, is like
Yeah.
you are good at lives. You do lives all the time. You're
Yeah.
consistent. You keep it going. Where for me, and I think because sometimes with my brain in shoes, sometimes like
Yeah.
right on there, I make mistakes, and yes, I can laugh them off,
Yeah.
and I've taken pride in because that's who I am. And where with some of the lives and that I was getting so nervous. I remember my first live, I think it took me 2 or 3 days because I kept turning it on and trying to do it. Again, it's just kind of letting that go, but it's the same thing. I would love to be more quirky, and I know I'm better at events, and so that's why even though I love all this social media stuff, I am leaning much more towards my events because that's where I'm a little more successful. And so, you just kind of have to adapt sometimes, or an entrepreneur just has to adapt as well.
100%. I agree with you as well, Tammy. Um, just really leaning into those things that you know are in your wheelhouse and you're not more comfortable with, right? But what we know we're really good at. And I do want to challenge you a little bit because of the fact that in Clubhouse, I was drawn to you when you were speaking. I reached out to you to be on my podcast. So, taking away those limiting beliefs within yourself and understanding that you are very, very charismatic as a speaker, and um, you went through those scary steps of going on your first live and you actually did the thing. Yeah, it might have taken you a couple days, but at the beginning of my entrepreneurship, it was the exact same way. But it goes back to that people pleasing thing and focusing in on, oh, what are they going to think about me, right?
All the
I
time.
Right? And though I don't talk about it very often, I do have a learning disability, so I have long short-term memory loss. And I am really bad with spelling and grammar. And on my lives, all the time, on my podcast, all the time, I forget words like a silly little word like see as I'm like I'll just make up a word because I can't even think about the one that I was thinking about right now. If I'm thinking about a silly word, right, then I'm like, gosh, that's such an easy word, why can't I remember it right now? But just like you were saying, I kind of just play it off, but not in a sense of like in a degrading way towards myself. Just I know it's a part of me, and that's something that I'm not going to really change. I just don't have the best memory, and it's like as when I was younger, my God, my teacher used to tell me that I have all the files in my brain, but they're just not in the correct order. So it takes me a while to remember some words, right? And that's something that, yeah, that's a part of me. That'll always be a part of me. Is it the worst in the world? No, I
Yeah.
just say that my listeners on the other end are trying to help me remember the words when I can't remember that word. They're playing like guessing games on the other end, you know? So we all have things, right? And knowing that you are very charismatic, so maybe that's a limiting belief within you, and to stop focusing in on what else people are saying about you. Like those are not your
Right.
people, right?
And that's like I was saying, I, that's why I had to
Yeah.
readapt. I changed some friendships.
Yeah.
My family doesn't understand at all. You just have to to adapt, but like you say, just have the confidence to let it go and do it and not worry what other people think. Because I'm not trying to make this a me. That's why
No.
community is so important to me. And I work with teams and I work with foundations. Because I do want to make a difference, but I also want people out there, sorry, my clock's going off, but I want people out there to know that if I can do it with a part of my brain machine, you can do it. And you know, anyone out there, if I was able to write this book, or just like you, I'm sure you're like me trying to find keys with my short-term memory. I mean, I can tile on my keys and I still, you know,
So
I'll be
bad.
ready to go somewhere and I'm looking everywhere for keys. And
I totally relate to you on that one, Tammy. So how long is your, like, what is the specifics on your book? Is your book done right now? Can people find your book?
Oh yeah. It's my book's been out almost a year now.
Okay.
And it's at www.thetrueairhead.com, or it's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all of those as well. And so yes, my book is definitely out. Just my journey from having such low self-esteem, but showing that if I'm able to do this, I know that any of you out there could do it too. And writing a book is so much easier than people realize that it is.
No, I completely agree with you. And it's that thought process of, holy moly, there's so much work behind writing this book. But when you just sit down and be like, okay, I'm just going to write for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like just do an outline today. And when we break things into smaller tasks, they seem a lot more digestible. But when you're like, oh my God, how am I going to even write a book? That like seems like,
or where am I going to begin and where am I going to go? And for somebody out there that's wanting to begin, just write down your chapters first.
How long did it take you to just write like your book without editing, without all the other things that you got to do along the process? Like for your process of writing the book, like all the words, how long did that process take for you?
About 3 months before the first editor.
That's a lot faster of a process than I thought you were going to say, actually.
But again, it was my life story, so it was easy to tell my story. It was more deciding, you know, what I was going to put in there, what I wasn't.
So I know you were saying that you are working on an NFT community right now and you're promoting your book. What can the listeners today expect from you in the future? Is there something that you're thinking about? What's the next steps for you?
Like I was saying, it's really exciting to see the NFTs that are happening right now with the Praise Pals, and the way this line is going to be released in a couple of weeks. And we wouldn't have 10,000 followers in a week if the line wasn't, you know, just releasing a couple pictures and it just blew up. So I'm real excited to be involved with this. And again, it's just all because of networking and people that I've met through Clubhouse and through Kevin Harrington Entrepreneurships all together.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with anyone out there that thinks of writing a book. A book, you're not going to have huge income from your book. That's not what's going to happen, but it's going to give you credibility. A book is more for giving you credibility and a legacy.
I love that, Tammy. And just knowing, because there's so many things that we can do in life. And I absolutely love that you're moving into other spaces and within your NFT community. So this will be like kind of a wrap-up question, Tammy, of this NFT community. How did you get involved with that? And what's the name and all those good things?
It was part, they just kind of separated. It was part of that young entrepreneur program that I was thinking, like what you were saying with your podcast. I know you want to help people. You want to change their mindset and help them build their self-confidence. And I think that's why we click so much. We just have a lot in common. And that's one thing that I really didn't get enough into as far as the mold is there's so many people that have issues that don't realize it's mold that is causing it. And they're beginning to see some of chronic fatigue could be mold related. They're even doing research thinking some autism could be mold related. Like I was saying with my ex-husband, I was just so groggy and tired all the time and couldn't function. And they controlled my asthma with a bunch of different surgeries, but I still was just out of it. And when they were going to do a surgery where they were going to put, and it was for the second time, they wanted to do a stronger dose, but they were going to put steroids into my vocal cords to, because what was happening with me is because of this mold, my vocal cords kept coming infected, and the doctors were saying your asthma isn't even totally coming from your lungs, it's coming because your vocal cords will close up because they were getting so infected. And so I was so groggy. Well, then when I separated from my ex-husband and I moved out of that house, I went in for the pre-op for the surgery, and this had only been a few weeks, and the doctor looked at me and said, "What did you do different?" And I said, "I moved out of that house." And he said, "Your lungs are clear. I'm canceling the surgery." And I have not had to go to the emergency room for an asthma attack really since that main last one.
Well, that's crazy, Tammy. That's interesting. It's like, we don't know what we don't know, but it seems like you just found out in time, so you didn't have to go through such a rigorous surgery.
Definitely, but it's just so important that awareness is spread, because so many people right now, I truly believe, with fibromyalgia or with kids with issues, I truly believe it could be mold related. And so I do feel it is important to spread awareness and help others.
Well, for you out there listening today, you heard it here. Tammy is the living proof. And I mean, that's the thing, is like, you just don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, how are you supposed to figure it out if nobody actually says something? So I just wanted to say thank you, Tammy, for being on today and talking about your story and how you grew your confidence and how you got through such a crazy, I don't want to say a mishap, but a crazy incident in your life. And thankful you're here. So thank you for joining in today on Unstoppable Confidence, Tammy. How can listeners find you? What is your social media that you're on primarily right now?
Sure. I'm www.thetrueairhead.com. And they can find me both, any of the site under The True Airhead or under Tammy Revard on Facebook, Instagram as well. So,
well, thank you so much for
having me.
Of course, I absolutely loved getting on here. So thank you for joining me on Bullhorn today. I love this platform. So thank you for joining. And for the listeners today, we will catch you on the next episode. So thank you again, Tammy. We'll chat soon.
Okay. Thanks, Lauren.
Bye.
I hope you are so excited about where you're going, because I know I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a girlfriend or posted it on social media. Tag me so I could personally say thank you. I am so grateful. And until next time,